Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Amber Rose, also known as the Religious Hippie. You can basically follow me on any social media platform. And today we're doing a Q&A. So originally, this video was supposed to be a beginner's guide to Catholicism. I filmed it, hated it. I don't know why, but it didn't come across the way I wanted it to. I felt like I wasn't getting enough information to you guys about certain topics. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a series, more or less. So I focus on like one specific thing. So Mass, or the sacraments, or devotions and prayers, like Beginner's Guide to Mass, Beginner's Guide to Devotion and Prayer. So that video was supposed to come out today. I apologize. I didn't like the way it looked when I started editing it. So stay tuned for that one in the future. I already did a beginner's guide to the traditional Latin Mass, so I think I'm just going to start piggybacking off of that and doing beginner's guide to sacraments and beginner's guide to RCIA, that kind of thing, because I feel like that would be a lot more beneficial than me just glossing over everything. It didn't really feel very personable or like I was giving you guys enough information on the topics. So that's where we're at with that. But today's a Q&A, so I have a bunch of questions that you guys have asked me, and I'm going to answer those for you today. And if I'm correct, by the time you guys are watching this, Pope Francis would have already consecrated Russia, Ukraine, and humanity. So I'm sure I will have an opinion on that later. I might do a video on that later. Maybe a podcast. We'll see. But I'm very hopeful that and very excited for that. So anyways, let's get into the video. Okay, so our first two questions are kind of like raveled in together, so I'm just going to say both of them. Favorite Marvel movie and favorite Spider-Man actor. I don't like Marvel. I know, you guys can boo me all you want. I don't like superheroes. I think it's predictable. I don't know, I could never get into the Marvel, DC, any kind of superhero universe. It just didn't make sense to me, and it's very predictable. Good guys save the day, but some of them die apparently. So that's predictable too. I don't know, I just couldn't get attached to the characters at all. When it comes to Spider-Man, I do think the Spider-Man movies are good. But again, just not a superhero person. If I had to pick my favorite Spider-Man actor, it does have to be Tobey Maguire. I'm sorry, he was the first Spider-Man, and in my opinion, the best. Okay, next up. Not a question, but Jack says, just wanted to say you played a role into my conversion to Catholicism, so thanks. You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. All glory to God, though. Honestly, he's the one that does all the work. Tyler asks, what do you do when you're uncertain about a doctrine? Now, it depends on what you mean by uncertain about a doctrine. Like, is the uncertainty coming because you don't know enough about the doctrine and the Catholic Church's stance on it? If that's the case, then you can go to places like Catholic Answers, free online, Catechism of the Catholic Church, and basically deepen your knowledge of that topic or doctrine that you are struggling with. On the other hand, if it's because you have a lot of knowledge on it, but you're not completely sure that it's the right stance, I would discuss it with your local priest, honestly. And I would ask him the hard questions and see what he says. I know it can be difficult, but I think most uncertainty comes from our lack of knowledge about the faith. Our next one is from Solana. She says, I constantly have thoughts about sharing my faith, but I'm always scared. What should I do? Honestly, it's okay to be scared. And I think fear is one of our greatest motivators. Again, I feel like we're afraid or uncertain about our faith because we are not in it enough. We do not have enough information to defend it against certain ad hominem attacks and things of that nature, straw man arguments. So I would really suggest buying the book, A Catholic Survival Guide by Catholic Answers. It's an amazing book. It's thick. She is a thick book. I think I have her here. Hang on. I like how I genderize books. So this is the book. This is what it looks like. I love this book. This book is amazing. It's short, it's to the point, and it gives you the argument that non-Catholics will make towards Catholics, what we actually believe, and then how to approach the argument and give them the proper answer. So I highly suggest this book for anybody who's struggling with, I guess apologetics in general. But talking about our faith does involve us needing to know about it quite a bit. I'm not saying you're like ignorant in the faith or anything. I'm just saying sometimes our fear can come from a lack of knowledge. So I would highly suggest doing tons of research. Father Mike Schmitz, Father Ripperger are really great resources as well, but they're a little more advanced. If you just want something that's basics, right to the point or whatever, then this book is perfect for that. The second thing you can do is you can practice. I would highly suggest practicing with some friends who are Catholic and maybe suffer from the same thing. So I have another book. It's also from Catholic Answers, and it says Meeting the Protestant Challenge, and how to answer 50 biblical objections to Catholic beliefs. So go with your friends, buy this book. And this book, in the beginning of, whatever you're learning, it will have an argument against Catholicism. So this is the first one. How can the Catholic Church teach that baptism is necessary for salvation when the Bible relates that people can receive the Holy Spirit before baptism? So it gives you the argument, it gives you Bible verses, it gives you all this, and then you can start practicing with your friends. I'm not saying you have to memorize all of this. I'm just saying it gives you an idea of how to address these situations. So your friend can just be like quizzing you and be like, okay, well, I don't believe in, baptism for salvation or whatever. And then you can address that using the book or, using an outline from the book. So I highly suggest, working with friends and getting used to it, because I think that's what shocks us the most is when it catches us off guard and people are like, oh, you worship Mary, or I don't believe that, or this or that. It can be in person or over the internet. It doesn't really matter. But we sometimes don't have comebacks for it because we're so shocked. And so training yourself to be in those situations and to have a calm and cool mind is way more beneficial than just winging it. So those are my tips. Hopefully that helps. What are some of your favorite religious orders? The Dominican Sisters. Love the Dominican Sisters. And the Poor Clares. I really like the Poor Clares. They're barefoot. I love that. I don't know if they're Franciscan. Poor Clares. The Poor Clares might just be the Poor Clares. Anyways, they're awesome. There's a little convent not too far away from here. I also really like the Carmelites. Carmelites are really good. I think that's it. I think that's all I really have right now. My mom used to take my sister and I to volunteer at soup kitchens downtown Chicago with some nuns, but I don't remember what order they were. They might have been Franciscan. I don't remember, but we used to run a soup kitchen with them, and it was fun. The hairnets didn't fit me, the gloves didn't fit me, the apron didn't fit me, but the nuns still took the time to help me chop a carrot. So 3-year-old me was on cloud 9. Okay, our next question comes from Savannah. She asked, not my Savannah, different Savannah. Have you felt spiritually weaker recently? I know I have been struggling to pray. Tips. Yeah. However, not as much now because my seasonal depression has officially lifted. Yes. I'm so excited. But it can be very difficult. And I say if you stick to a routine, God rewards you for loyalty. He really does. And so when we pray, even though we don't feel like it, that will be rewarded with grace because of the fact that we don't feel like it, but we still stay loyal and we still continue to do our prayers. However, my tips for spiritual warfare, and I have a lot of tips because I go through it constantly. Adoration or holy hour, basically the same thing, but you sit in adoration for an hour, just you and Jesus. You can journal. I have a whole video about stuff you can do during adoration, link that below for you. Adoration is a big one. The Rosary, St. Michael Chaplet, St. Michael prayer in general, guardian angel prayer. It's so important to have a relationship with your guardian angel. They're one of your first line defenses when it comes to being protected. 3 other things that I would really suggest that you do if you are seriously struggling with spiritual warfare is confession if you are in mortal sin, even venial sin. Let's be honest, venial sins can spiral into mortal sins, so it's important if it's a habitual venial sin, habitual meaning it's a habit, like you continually do it no matter what. Go to confession every week if it's a habitual sin. Go to confession in general if you're struggling with a sin. Go to daily mass and receive the Eucharist every day if possible. Those 3 things are so powerful against spiritual warfare. Confession is the #1 defense against spiritual warfare. After that, you can go to mass. You don't have to go to confession to go to mass, but you do need to go to confession before receiving the Eucharist if you are not in good standing with the church, which means you're in mortal sin. Otherwise, you commit the sin of sacrilege, and we do not want to do that. That's one of the worst sins you can commit. So I really suggest those things. So hopefully that helps. Okay, our next question comes from Melissa. Oh, it's not really a question. It looks more like maybe a question. Okay. I'm divorced but not annulled, interested to learn more about consecrated virgin's vocation. This year at Easter Vigil, I become 1-year Catholic, interested to learn more of the TLM. That's awesome. Congratulations. Welcome home. The first thing is, in order to go into a different vocation, let's say either you're getting remarried, you're going into a religious vocation or something like that, you will have to get your marriage annulled. Just because you are still married to that person, maybe like civilly through the government, you're not because you got divorced, but in God's eyes, you are still married to that person until you get that annulled. That's just a little heads up there. Besides that, I did a whole video about Beginner's Guide to the Traditional Latin Mass and reasons I love the Traditional Latin Mass. I'll link all of those videos below for you if you want to learn more about that. Yeah, that's so cool. Welcome home. You guys have a lot of good questions. Okay, this actually one is another one from Melissa. She asks, how to process an annulment alone when questions provoke painful childhood memories. I think the first thing we really need to do is not go through this alone. It is so important that we have spiritual directors and we talk to people about these things. I'm not sure if that's by choice or if you just don't have anybody, but I really would suggest contacting your local parish and asking a local priest like, hey, you know, I'm going through an annulment, I'm going through this or whatever, would you mind discussing this with me? I really suggest that, or finding a Catholic therapist can be amazing as well. I'll link some references below to find a Catholic therapist near you. But it's really important that we don't go through these things alone, mainly because we are communal people. You know, we're a community. And so we have that community to build each other up and to get through hard times like these. And so I think number one would really be community. Everybody has a past. Everybody's broken somewhere in their life. And so if you are pushing yourself away or isolating yourself from people because you don't want to bother them with your problems and things like that, I think that's one of the greatest lies that Satan can tell us, besides the fact that he doesn't exist, you know, because he likes to tell that lie quite a bit, is that we're alone. And he likes to isolate us from people. Satan is literally an abusive, boyfriend. He tries to isolate you from people. He abuses you spiritually, mentally, and physically. I highly suggest that you do find a community or at least a spiritual director, a priest to talk to, even a sister or a nun, if you're not comfortable talking with a man, because I know some people, when they're going through healing processes, women need women, men need men. But I'm one of those people who I need a man to talk to. I don't know why. I just feel like men can hear me on a different level, a more logical level than some women can, though I tell my best friend everything. Sorry, Chloe. Okay, next question. Angie asks, least favorite subject in school? You know, it's a hard tie between math and English. I really loved history. History was one of my favorites. I did a whole paper on Pearl Harbor. Let me think. Yeah, I would have to go with English or math. Okay, next question is from Carla. How do you choose a saint? Do we pick any? What should we be looking for? It's for confirmation. I did a whole video about confirmation saints. I'll link that below for you. But basically what you want to do is you want to pick at least 5 different saints that stories draw you towards them. You can pray a novena to them or whatever, and then you want to narrow it down to 3. Once you narrow it down to 3, you narrow it down to 2. Once you narrow it down to 2, you narrow it down to 1. And then there you go, your confirmation saint. Your confirmation saint can be male or female. I did not know that. Otherwise, I would have picked St. Francis, though I love St. Rose of Lima. I really, really do. St. Francis or Our Lady of Sorrows, I probably would have picked, but I didn't know about Our Lady of Sorrows when I was a kid, so blah. Anyways, it can be either male or female. And you really want to connect with a saint. Saints are human. You know, obviously they're in heaven now, but they have certain characteristics and personalities and things like that. I know a lot of people were drawn to Saint Therese of Lisieux or Saint Therese of the Little Flower. I was not. I love her to death. I read her book, her biography. I think she's an amazing saint who struggled greatly and gave her life for Christ and helped so many people. And we also did the consecration, the one that with St. Faustina and St. Therese. Is that 33 Days to Merciful Love, I believe? Anyways, I linked that video below for you. There's charts and there's diagrams, things that you can write out. I have some paperwork there that helps you narrow down your saint, information, etc. So definitely go check that out. Next question is from my producer. Hi, Todd. Favorite producer? Obviously you, the one and only, Todd. You may have answered this, but tips on starting a Catholic podcast. Ooh, that's a great question. People like consistency. So it's really important that you set a schedule. Is it going to be bi-weekly? Is it going to be every week? Is it going to be twice a week? Once a month? You know, what are you aiming for? And then how long your episodes are going to be, that kind of thing. So I would suggest getting the logistics out of the way first. And then after that, you can start testing out different apps for podcasting. I personally use anchor.fm. It's a really great platform to start a podcast on. So I would suggest anchor.fm if you're going to start one. And then from there, I would say just see how it goes, honestly. And make sure you have like a layout of how you want it to go, like intro, and then little topic about Bible verses, and then we have the guest, and then we do an outro. You know, just like plan stuff like that out, because winging stuff on podcasts is really difficult, mainly because there's not a visual aspect to it. It's all audio, and so people can hear things, people can hear mistakes, and stuff like that a lot more than they would in a video because their eyes are distracted, so some of their more senses are distracted. So those are kind of like my tips to start out, and obviously pray. Pray, pray, pray. Honestly, go to Adoration about it. Even when you're doing it and you feel like you're called to it, continue going to Adoration and asking God what He wants you to bring to the public eye and what He wants you to talk about. That is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, again, I don't do this for myself. I don't do this for money. I don't do this for anything besides trying to educate people on the Catholic faith and for God. So, and He's opened all the doors for me to be able to do this amazing platform. So I'm very thankful to Him and to my producer, Todd, of course, for helping me achieve my dreams. But yeah, so I just, start there. See what happens. I think that's a good place to start. Any big plans for 2022? Yeah, so I'm going to be speaking at a conference out in Denver, Colorado called SOCA. I linked the flyer below for you guys if you want to go check that out. And then I'm talking at 2 other events. One's in Wisconsin, the other one is in Illinois. And then besides that, just traveling. I'm turning 23 in April, so yikes. Yeah, just traveling and a lot more exciting things. Hopefully finally getting my website up and running, that kind of stuff. Just a lot of chill but exciting stuff. Okay, next question is from Sammy. Do you ever remember your bad past and fear people can bring it up, mocking your faith today? I honestly have to think about that one. I don't think I've ever feared anyone bringing up my past. And that's mainly because most of the things that people believed about me were complete rumors and not actually true in high school. So if those came to light again or like started spreading again, I would probably just be like I did in high school, because they're not true. And so if they are true, I do highly suggest though that you remember that in confession we are forgiven and we are made clean and that we're basically born again. And so your birthday is basically every single time you come out of confession. So I was born about 2 weeks ago. I do think it's really important that if we're struggling with something like this and things, to really do the surrender novena. A novena where we surrender ourselves to God's will. Because even if these things come up, God is allowing that for a certain reason. He's allowing it for a greater good of some kind, whether it is humility or something of that nature. I couldn't exactly tell you how God works or anything like that, but I can tell you for a fact that we shouldn't worry about what other people really think of us when it comes to our past life. And that's mainly because when we come into the faith, when we start going to Mass and confession and all of these things, we're changing. So that's not the same you that you are today. And I think that's important to remember that, yes, we have those memories, but they serve a purpose and they're a learning experience. And if people want to bring that up, that's on their soul. You know, they have no business. They really don't have any business to bring up the past you, especially when you've made such a commitment to change and to go to confession and do all of these things. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, but if it is really bothering you, I would highly suggest getting a spiritual director. I think everybody should have at least a spiritual director or a good priest friend to talk to, and discussing it with him. This might be a long episode, I apologize. You guys have a lot of good questions and I don't want to leave anybody out. Rose asks, tips on how to stay focused and engaged when praying. Two biggest game changers for me. One is setting the mood, okay? So, depending on when you pray, do you pray the rosary or whatever? Do you pray in your room? Where do you pray? Do you have a specific area you can pray in, like a prayer corner? Mine's kind of turning into a prayer room, but that's fine. Are you in a quiet area where you can relax and just sit and pray, or is it super noisy? Can you find a quiet area? Can you light a candle, a blessed candle, to set the mood? I love the old feeling of like dimming the lights and only having like 10 candles, and I feel so gothic. Anyways, so number one is to set the mood. Play some music, light a candle, dim the lights, find a nice quiet place. Just set the mood for prayer. That's super helpful. Second thing is to get visualization. So whether you have icons or pictures or whatever, you can even look up on your phone, like if you're praying the rosary online, they have follow-alongs, so you can like read it, and then there's like a picture, and then I usually just like stare at the picture while I'm saying the prayers so that like I don't lose focus. But honestly, setting the mood and getting visualizations, complete game changer. All right, next up is Casely-Ann. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Do you feel any particular calling for a vocation in your life right now? Marriage. Back in October of 2021, I stayed with the Dominican Sisters by my house, and it was an amazing experience, being with them for a whole weekend and learning what they do, getting up and living like one of them was amazing. Their prayers and everything. I got really depressed there though. It was not for me. I felt so overwhelmed, like it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And one of the sisters there, Sister Cherubal, she said that if this seems like the impossible vocation, if this seems like something that's so hard to do that you can't imagine how anyone could do it, it's probably not the vocation for you. It might be, and you just need to discern a little bit more. But chances are it's not. And because she viewed marriage like that, she viewed marriage as the hardest thing ever. Like, who would ever want to do that, Like, not that, but, like, with difficulties and stuff. And becoming a sister to her seemed like almost an easier choice. And I thought about that, and I was like, interesting. So I might go stay with them again sometime, just because I really love them, and I had such a great time, and I didn't like waking up at 5:30. But I talked about my entire experience in a previous video, so I'll link that below for you guys if you're interested in that. Okay, next question from Emilio. What do you seek in a man of God? Saint Joseph. I highly suggest women and men who are looking for a spouse do the consecration to Saint Joseph. It is so important for women to know their worth and what they should expect from a man and what men should be expected of. And so the consecration to Saint Joseph is just one of those amazing ways, and honestly really fast ways, that you can figure out what you need to do as a man and what you need to do as a woman to find a spouse that's right for you. And there's just so much about St. Joseph I did not know that I found in that book. Here, it's right here. The Consecration of St. Joseph. I was astonished. It was absolutely amazing, and I suggest it to everybody. Consecration of St. Joseph. Do it, do it, do it. But yeah, I look for somebody like St. Joseph. Somebody who's a humble worker, but is hardworking, loves his family, is a protector, provider, not just physically, but also spiritually. So that's a little summary. Okay, next question. What are some books you regret reading as a Catholic? There's a lot. I was into some really dark fiction and stuff like that. I really like Sarah J. Maas, and I still really do, unfortunately, despite the fact that I know her books are bad, they're immoral, but I would read her books in a day. She has like 500 to 800 page books, and I would read those in a day. A day. I was at the chiropractor quite a bit for my back. I really liked the Throne of Glass series. I really liked Court of Thorns and Roses series. That one kind of got a little scandalous after the first 2 books. But I don't know, I just really, really loved Sarah J. Maas. But it's also one of those book series that I absolutely regret reading because it actually spiraled me into depression because I was not a part of that world. I would actually cry because I was not a part of their universe with the fae and the fairies and whatever. It was such a bad time for me. Oh, another one is Holly Black. She did some books like The Cruel Prince. I don't know, I read it, I wasn't as big of a fan as it was for Sarah J. Maas, but it wasn't bad either, but it, like, in the sense of, like, I didn't mind it, but it definitely had some scandalous stuff behind it, and I was like, ooh. So, yeah. Okay, next question is from Mia. Not religion related, but do you like your second ear piercing? Trying to convince my parents. Yeah, absolutely do. I got this for my 16th birthday. I believe it was my 16th, maybe my 17th. I convinced my mom to do it. And I think they had a classy look. I'm actually getting my helix pierced today, actually, when you guys are seeing this video. Well, an hour. I don't know when my appointment is. Anyways, so I'm getting my helix pierced when you guys are seeing this video. So next time you see me, yay. But yeah, I think it adds a classy little touch. I don't like it when like people's ears are like crammed with like piercings. My helix piercing, that's going to be my last one unless I decide to get a double helix, but that's it. That's literally it. That's all I want. And I've been wanting a helix for the last 6 years now. I wanted to get it along with my, I originally wanted to get a helix piercing, but Claire's, don't go to Claire's to get your second piercing, by the way. Claire's did not offer helix piercings. They only offered like second lobe piercing, which is what I have here. I don't have my earrings in right now, so I can't, whatever. But they didn't offer helix, so I just went with the second, lobe piercing. But I've always wanted a helix, and so I'm finally doing that. And then I might get a second one, like right here. We'll see. I don't know. It's nothing crazy, but I have seen a lot of jewelry that is beautiful on Etsy, where it's like, it's here and then a chain comes down and it's like gold and like silver and stuff. Oh, it's so pretty. Long story short, yes, I do like my second piercings. Okay, Chris asks, do you think about the afterlife much? Yes. Yes, I do. And a great book that you can read, if I can find it, hang on. There's this one, The Art of Dying Well, and it's basically how to get your entire life into I guess, order so that when you die, everything's taken care of and stuff like that. And also how to live longer, like eating healthier and stuff like that. So The Art of Dying Well by Katie Butler is a really good book. And then also St. Alphonsus Liguori has a book, and that one's called Preparation for Death. That's also a very good book that I enjoy. But yeah, I do think about the afterlife quite a bit because, I mean, at the end of the day, that is where we're going. Only God knows that. So it is very important that we do think about it constantly because, reality smacks you in the face when you're about to die, but do we do any preparation before that? So it's really important. Memento mori, remember your death. So I do have a memento mori rosary. I think it's in my car though. Yeah, that one's usually in my car because cars are killing machines. Okay, next question from Cinder. Is wearing sleeveless immodest and considered a mortal sin? Not a mortal sin. Maybe a venial sin if you do it on purpose to be immodest. But sleeveless is not, in my opinion, as long as you're not going to church in it, immodest. And my reasoning for that is that I have 3 very, very classy sleeveless dresses. They're like off the shoulder dresses. And then I also have a sleeveless one that are very, very feminine, very cute, very chic. You have to use your own discretion to see if the entire dress is modest or if it's just the sleevelessness. Because obviously like sleevelessness plus like a dress that goes all the way like up your thigh is not very modest. But if it's a classy, sleeveless shirt, dress, or whatever, I don't personally see the problem with it. Probably need a little more context though, but no, it's not a mortal sin. Sebastian asks, your ethnicity? I am French, Polish, German, Native American, Scotch-Irish, and English. I come from like Wales. Okay, next question. Have you ever been to a Byzantine Catholic liturgy? Yes, I went once with some friends. It was really cool. Lots of standing, lots of sign of the cross. We actually witnessed a Byzantine baptism. That was really cool. The exorcism prayer made the baby completely poop itself, and like 2 people fainted. Wholesome experience. So, exorcism prayers work. Yes, I have gone. I think it's amazing. It's personally not, I'm not in love with it like I am the traditional Latin Mass, but I think it's an amazing experience and you should try it. How should I pick a religious order if there's so many? Pray about it. Go to Adoration. Do a 9-day novena for vocation. And then after that 9 days, God's going to open some kind of door to you where there'll be like 3 or 4 different religious orders that might, catch your eye or something, and you can go and stay with them. I highly suggest that you start with the main ones, like the Dominican Sisters, the Franciscans, the Carmelites, and maybe the Poor Clares. Those 4. I would start with those 4, and then if none of them work, you can start branching out to the lesser known ones, or the ones, what St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta was. Oh my gosh, it's slipping my mind right now. I can't remember. Anyways, I would start off slow and then branching out. So pick like 4 and stay with them, see if they have a come and see event, and then go and see. And if it doesn't work out, you're not the biggest fan of it, go to the next one. If you've gone through all 4 and you're like, nothing's really reached out to me, then you can start going to other ones. But pace yourself. I wouldn't go over 4 to try at one time, Tasha asks, how do you deal with friends drifting apart? I would say we have to come to terms with the fact that this is a natural thing. People mature differently, and it hurts. It really does. I'm actually going through a friend breakup at the moment, so I understand your pain. It is very important to remember that this is a part of life, and that God is having this happen for a reason. Either you guys aren't fruitful for each other anymore, there's an underlying factor that you guys don't see that God does see. I'm not really sure. I don't know how God works all the time, most of the time, any of the time, but it is very important to remember that there is divine providence, and He does things for a reason, and so it's important to remember that friend groups will drift apart, depending on your guys' age. I'm assuming you guys are probably in high school, maybe college. So once college hits, people are going to go to different schools and things like that. You guys might come back together later in life once a few of you have matured more. There's really no telling. But if you're getting over a friend breakup, I would highly suggest watching Mamma Mia with a pint of ice cream with get a heaty blanket too. Heaty blanket and your favorite teddy bear. It's heaven. I mean, not really, but it's a good substitute for now. Okay, next question. Do we need to kneel while praying, or can we pray sitting down? Absolutely, either one. I always suggest you do at least one prayer kneeling, whether that's your morning offering, or the rosary, or the Divine Mercy Chaplet, or just a quick like, hi Jesus prayer. I always think we should get on our knees at least once a day and do some kind of prayer. But I do all my praying in this little prayer corner with my rocking chair. So I can't kneel very long because of my knee injuries. I dislocated my left kneecap about 6 years ago now, and I dislocated my right kneecap in December, after Christmas. So I can't kneel for very long periods of time just yet, but I do at least try to do my morning offering while kneeling. Oh, and my night prayers too. Sorry, it sounds like I'm gargling gravel because I'm still kind of sick. And my body decided to break out in hives today, so I'm like packed full of antihistamines. Okay, this is a really cool question. Is it imperative for every piece of religious charms, rosaries, to be blessed uniquely by a priest, or can one pray over them to pray to God that he may bless them? So it's very important that when you are getting holy water, blessed salt, blessed oil, rosaries blessed, or whatever, that it is done by a priest. Priests are the only ones who have authority to really do this. If we want to sprinkle holy water on something to, kind of bless it before it gets an actual blessing, that's totally fine. But we need to understand that that is not uniquely blessed. There is a specific type of blessing. It's also important to mention here that there are different blessings for different items. So rosaries have different blessings than medals. And depending on the medal, there's going to be a different blessing if it's a St. Benedict medal versus a miraculous medal versus a St. Francis medal. There are so many different prayers, and so the priest has all of those prayers. So it's really important to go to a priest and get things blessed. If you are not available to get a priest right away, of course you can sprinkle some holy water on it like I mentioned before, but always get it blessed by a priest. I'm linking resources for you below if you wanted to read some more about that. I know it's kind of a hard topic to go through and I'm already kind of pushing my time limit here, but I just wanted to give you some extra resources in case you wanted to get more deep into that conversation. Okay, and our last question for today is from Jesus, and he asks, have you read the whole Bible? What are your favorite 5 books? I have not read the whole Bible. Man, I wish. I keep falling off the Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in a Year podcast train. Every single time I start it, I get about like 4 weeks in, maybe like 2 months, and then I fall off the train. I can't tell you why, I just forget it exists somehow, and anyways, short answer is no. My favorite books though, Maccabees 1 because it references purgatory, Esther, I love Esther, Job, the Gospel of Matthew. It's always a hard choice between Psalms and Proverbs, but I'm gonna have to go with Proverbs. Yeah, so those are my top 5 favorite books in the Bible. So with all of that being said, I hope that this was a good Q&A. Again, I apologize. I know I was supposed to do the beginner's Catholic guide type of thing, but yeah, that didn't work out. So I'm going to work on that to see how I can make that happen for you guys. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye!